In today's faith driven career strategies, we're going to be looking at Miriam, and we're going to be reading from Exodus chapter 15, verses 20 and 21. We're going to start there. Uh, the goal today is to look at the strategies, the things that Miriam did, and she thinks that she should not have done as it relates to losing influence later in life. There's seasons in our lives as women over 45 that we might have been the boss, or we might have been this, or might have been that, but then we used to be consulted. No one's consulting us anymore. We used to be seen. We used to be, have that front row seat, and now things feel different. Things have shifted, and you don't really know where that's coming from or how it's happening to you. And so we're going to look at Miriam's story because it speaks directly to us when we're navigating this type of role and change in our careers later in life. So we're going to start with Exodus chapter 15, verses 20 and 21. And we're going to look at the things that Miriam did do well as because she was a leader. And we'll see that in Exodus chapter 15. We're going to see that she was in leadership. So let's go ahead and shift over there to turning your Bibles. I'm using the King James Version Bible. Exodus chapter 15, verses 20 and 21. And Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, "Sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider has he thrown down into the sea." So they were celebrating the fact that they had crossed over the Red Sea and God had defeated Pharaoh's army. They were all drowned, and many of us know that story. But in her frustration, she lost something there, and it cost her. So we're going to look at Miriam's do's and don'ts. So please stick with me here. I know that this will be a blessing to you, especially if you're in a season where you are losing your influence. It has happened to me on several, positions that I have held. I was the dean, and all of a sudden I wasn't the dean. But my response was a little bit different because I knew in my heart of hearts that this job was, the grace was lifting. What I call the grace lifting is when you all of a sudden it feels like work, or it gets to be a chore, or there's something different emotionally about the joy that you had when you were doing that job and teaching and training and doing all those things, and it kind of shifts. But the thing I need you to understand as a woman over 45 is that you know that this is happening to you even right now, but you don't know how to handle it. So we're going to talk about how to handle this shift in our changes in our show today. So let's look at Exodus. We looked at Exodus chapter 1, and we could see that Miriam, she was a leader. All the women followed her, not just some of them, all of them followed her. And she had that role of, we're going to sing unto the Lord and worship him. So she was in charge at this point. But there was something that she did that caused her to lose that. And let's go over to our first strategy. And our first strategy today, in that situation and circumstances, when you're making that shift, or it's happening to you even though you don't want it to, it's the worst feeling in the world to be put on the shelf. So this first strategy is to, grieve what changed. Grieve what changed. We might not think we're grieving it. We might think I thought I wasn't grieving it, but there's things that you have sown into that. You've given your time, you've given your energy. You've given your life to this ministry or to your job, and then all of a sudden it shifts, and they're kind of sitting you off to the side or not consulting you anymore. You have to grieve that. You want to honor the past impact, but you want to take a hold and discern the new assignment. What is God doing in my life now? This is what you have to do. This is strategy number one. Acknowledge your seasonal shift. Take a note. Acknowledge your seasonal shift, and I will put these notes in the description. You'll be able to download a copy of the notes from our session today. Now, the thing that we don't want to do in this situation and circumstances, let's look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 before we do that. And it says, to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven. We know this. Let's not pretend that we don't know that. But our emotions, our family situations, our finances, a lot of it has to do with, maybe I'm losing and then I'll lose this job. I might not be able to pay for the things that I need to pay for. A lot of things come into consideration when these shifts happen in our lives. So the goal with faith-driven career strategies is to be prepared and to actually just be ahead of the game. We don't want to wait till it happens. I always tell them, what are you going to do next? Don't think about the fact that, I'm in this position right here, right now, but I have to think about what am I going to do next? Because if I don't prepare or consider the shift that's going to eventually happen, I'll find myself, sitting in a corner somewhere crying and not being able to move forward as fast as I could have if I had prepared for that. So you want to discern what's new. Things are new. God is doing a new thing. Now, when we look at the strategy of the don'ts, the do's and the don'ts, we want to grieve what changed. We want to honor the past. We want to discern our new assignment. We want to make sure that we're prepared. But what we don't want to do is pretend that it doesn't hurt. We don't want to cling to expired roles or lead from nostalgia. Don't do that. It's hard enough because when you start leading from the nostalgia kind of thing, people know that, oh God, I used to be this, I used to be that, all this and that. So you become a murmurer and a complainer about certain things. And this is what she did. And this is what happened to her and how she ended up, in big trouble. So don't pretend that it doesn't hurt. You have to grieve this. Well, how do you do that? Well, let me give you a couple of things that you can do to help you along with that. Let's look at Psalm number 34, verse 18. Psalm number 34, verse 18. It says, "The Lord is nigh unto all them that are of a broken heart, and saves such as should be of a contrite or crushed spirit." We know that we're hurting and we know those things are happening. So how do we deal with that? Let me give you some things. Do grieve what has changed. How do you do it? Healthy ways to do it is to name the things that have shifted without being shameful, without being embarrassed. Acknowledge it, even with your coworkers, because they know it, they see it, they've heard it. So why are we trying to hold on to it? It just makes us feel even worse. So just name the things that you're shifting. Journal for yourself. Make sure you're praying about honestly being disappointed about it. Ask God, what are you inviting me to do now? That's the do part of what's going on when you're grieving something. You have to acknowledge it. If you don't acknowledge it, it'll just stew around and turn into bitterness and resentment. Grief doesn't mean that you're ungrateful. It means that you're just being honest, and you have to be honest in this season and in this role. Now, don't pretend that the change doesn't hurt. Don't spiritualize it, because what happens is we just stuff those emotions down and they just cause us to be angry or frustrated, or we find ourselves yelling or not being friendly. And it's the things, the bitterness and resentment that comes along with not acknowledging certain things. So you want to avoid that. Don't pretend that it doesn't hurt, because the Lord is nigh you. He's near you. Pray to forgive, to release, whatever it is. Pray and acknowledge the pain. Okay, so now in our next strategy, we're going to be talking about strategy number 2. It's going to be guard your influence. You're going to guard your influence. You want to process your frustrations privately, lead with humility, and seek wise counsel. Okay, so let's look at those particular strategies, the do's and don'ts of those particular strategies. So when we're talking about, let's go to Numbers chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. We're going to read Numbers chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. It says, "And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, Hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? And the Lord heard it." Now, Miriam had been prophesied. She knew that she was a prophetess. She sang and she was a leader, but she got over into murmuring and complaining about Moses. Moses was the leader, and we never want to undermine our leadership. Those are the things that we don't want to do. Let's take a look at that, because that's what happened in Miriam's case. She undermined her leadership by talking, and there was a penalty for her to pay. And she ended up with leprosy. She had to be outside of the camp for so many days. She had to struggle based on the fact that she had made a decision to complain about Moses. And how many times have we done that? Even not knowingly and unknowingly, because we've been hurt. And that's why you have to not do it publicly. You don't want to speak from a place of bitterness. Bitterness comes along when we just keep those frustrations inside, and we don't know how to handle them. We haven't properly dealt with it, and we haven't really accepted it ourselves. And we confuse an emotion with injustice. Now, how do we process our frustrations, privately? How do we do that? Well, the first thing I want to encourage you to do is just talk with a friend or mentor or someone of that nature, someone that you trust, someone that you know, someone that is not going to put your business out there. And many times you don't want to share with coworkers, that's for sure, because they'll throw you under the bus every single time. If it comes from their job to your job, they're going to go for their job. So make sure that you're coming from a place of trust when you go and you talk with a trusted person. Pray before responding to the triggers and situations. You have to pray. Run in the bathroom or just talk softly. Ask God, help me, Lord. He hears, He knows, He sees, because He's with us all the time. God said He never leaves us or forsakes us. So at any given point in time, we can call upon the name of the Lord. He will be with us. That's what we have to realize as we are transitioning in our careers, as we're doing different things, as God is moving us from one level to the next. We have to make sure that we're trusting and listening to His voice. Ask yourself, what outcome do I actually want? What do you actually want from this whole situation and circumstances? And choose timing wisely before addressing your concerns. Make sure that you've had enough time to calm yourself down and to understand what has actually happened. So, and don't, like I mentioned, speak from a place of bitterness. Let's look at Hebrews chapter 12, verse 15. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 15. And it reads, looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace or of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up to trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. So it doesn't just defile you as an individual spiritually and physically and probably and emotionally. It's going to defile your family. It's going to defile your coworkers. It's going to affect everybody. Look what happened when Miriam complained against Moses. The whole place was shut down because they waited until she was healed of that leprosy to move forward. So she impacted everybody. And remember, she had all the other women that had followed her. And if they see her murmuring and complaining against the leadership, they're going to follow suit. So we have to be mindful of that. Avoid that publicly speaking, undermining your leadership, being passive aggressive, and revisiting your old wins. Start talking about, well, I used to do this or I used to do that, because it's easy to do that when there is a shift or when you're being downplayed or moved off to the side. It's really easy to do that. So what do we want to do? We want to stay teachable. We want to stay teachable. Ask, am I responding from purpose or pain? And as I mentioned before, you want to stay teachable in that situation and circumstances. You don't want to be an individual that is just going to, go off and do all kinds of things. You want to stay teachable. And that's our next strategy. Stay teachable. Stay teachable. Embrace your refinement. Trust God's repositioning in your life. That's what you must do. It's not even it's a matter of our survival. It's a matter of survival when it comes to that particular thing. We want to be able to do that. How are we going to survive and thrive if we don't have a plan? And that's what the coaching is about. If you are an individual that is struggling with this right now, you can. I'm offering a free 30-minute discovery call, what I call a discovery call, and we can just talk about the situation and circumstances that you're in. It's no problem, no obligation or anything like that. It's just getting to you to understand that moving forward is a process, and you need to start the process now. You don't want to wait until that season hits you and then you're not prepared. It's so important for us to do that. Stay teachable. You can actually learn something from someone younger than you. I do that all the time. I soak it all in. Why? Because that makes me relevant, that makes me current. You need to listen, to pay attention. The young people are not just throwaways. They don't. It's like well, they're not mature enough, so and so, but they have something that we need, and sometimes it's the skill that might take us to that next level, and it's okay for them to assist you with that. So let's look at our strategies here. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 6. What does it say? Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding. Psalm 75, 6 and 7, for promotion comes neither from the east nor the west, nor from the south, but God is the judge. He putteth down one and he sitteth up another. He setteth up another. So God is really in charge of this whole thing. We want to make sure that God elevates us. Stay teachable. Resist change. Don't demand recognition. Don't demand that, well, I used to be this and I used to be that, because it sets a sour tone in our office and the places that we're working or whatever. And even in your home, if you're a sour or bitter, or you're operating from bitterness, in order to overcome that, you have to have a plan. You have to change your mind. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 43, verse 18 and 19. I really love this scripture as it relates to what God is doing. It says, remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall ye not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. So God is making a way for you even right now today. Even as you're watching this, he's making a way for you to escape the situation and circumstances that you're in. You have to have a plan. You have to identify your potential. You need to know, what am I doing? Do I want to be an author? What do I want to do, as they've put me off or on the shelf, or younger people are coming in and you're feeling some kind of way? What are you going to do next? Just sit there and complain and mope? You have to have a plan. It's so critical for us at any stage in age, 45, 55, 65, 75, it doesn't matter. God is using us until the day we leave here. We should have that mindset. You can retire or shift. It's just a shift. It's not really a retirement, because you're going to be doing something. But you want to be able to make an impact and change the world and be able to minister and to teach others in whatever gifting that you have. You want to be able to do that. Don't resist change. Don't say that, oh, that's how they always used to do it, and start throwing out things like that. That makes it very difficult for you. It doesn't help the situation at all. So you can take advantage of the free discovery call. Just, schedule an appointment, click on the link, and set up a time. It's just 30 minutes. And I will be glad to walk you through some strategies that you might need to do in order to get to that next level. Remember, Miriam was in trouble because she was murmuring and complaining. So we're taking the strategy that, or the things that happened to her, for the do's and the don'ts. We do want to have those things that we need to move forward, but we don't want to be bitter. And it's so easy, even though you think that you're not bitter, if negativity is always rolling up in your heart and in your mind, that's bitterness. So let's go ahead and look at our recap for today. I will be putting this information in our notes so that you can have these tips in the notes. And do this action strategy. Write one way God may be refining, not removing you from that particular job. Now, like I mentioned before, for myself, I knew that the grace had lifted for being the dean, and it didn't bother me that someone was coming in to take my place, because it was, I didn't have to keep up with the students. I didn't have to do these certain things that are required when you're running the school. But when somebody else steps in that spot and it blindsides you, it's not the same way. And how are you responding? Well, I'm talking to you. How are you responding in this situation right now? Are you whining, complaining? Are you upset? Are you crying? Are you depressed? God doesn't want that for us. He has a plan for you for the next phase, the next transition. So take advantage of the discovery call. I also created a devotional with scriptures and promise and prayers for transition to help us to stay encouraged in the word, and pray out the word and speak the word, and declare over our lives as well. And a link for that will be in there as well. So let's go over our recap. Or Miriam, seasons change, influence must mature, and refinement is not rejection. So keep those things in mind. Keep in mind that it's not over, and you're moving ahead, and you're doing what God has anointed you to do, called you to do, set in motion for the things that He has for you for this next season. And as I mentioned, you can just click on the link. I would love to spend some time with you to help you navigate this season in your life. And sign up for our emails from Faith Driven Career Strategies, because I also put tips. I also hand out PDFs and things that'll be helpful to you. Even if you're not in the coaching session, you're going to need some of these things as you move around and navigate our lives. This is our life. This is who we are. This is what we do. You always have something to give to someone. So I appreciate and thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you take advantage of the free 30-minute discovery call, and you have a great one.